I am at one of India's premier research institutes, NEERI, the National Environment Engineering Research Institute in Nagpur. And I have with me Dr. Krishna Khairnar, a specialist on viruses. The world has been plagued by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but today we are not talking SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, but we are talking Ganga. Why does the water in Ganga remain pure? Why does water stored from the Ganges river remain pure for a very long time? And Dr. Krishna has studied this in great detail. Dr. Krishna, how long have you been studying the waters of the Ganga, and what is your key finding?
Thank you, Pallavji. NEERI had been into this project in a two-phase from past 6 years, as a phase 1 and phase 2, which was sponsored by a National Mission for Clean Ganga, to understand the special property in River Ganga. And NEERI had investigated in a multi-pronged way, like the biochemical, physiochemical, and also, some kind of radiological aspects were also investigated by NEERI to see that how and what makes the Ganga water special than other rivers. So we basically locked down on few factors, like one of them was the kind of phytochemicals, another was the dissolved oxygen, and the third one very important aspect was the virus diversity in the Ganga which act on the bacteria. We all know that there are viruses which act on humans, animals, but there are viruses which act on the bacteria also. They are called as bacteriophages. And these bacteriophages were basically investigated into Ganga to see if they contribute to the special property in the river Ganga or not.
So is the water really special in the Ganga?
Yeah, we can say that the way how the Ganga is actually, is naturally, it's geogenic way how it is. In our study, we saw that the sediment of the Ganga makes the virus against the bacteria very conducive as compared to other rivers. There is something in the sediment of the Ganga which makes this virus act very well and very efficiently. So to actually, substantiate that, we basically compared even the other rivers of the of this Indian subcontinent, one of them being the Himalayan river, which is Yamuna, to be compared with Ganga, and another is a non-Himalayan river system like Narmada, and we came out with very interesting findings that what makes the Ganga so different from other rivers. So we found that although bacteriophages are available in other rivers also, but the ability of the bacteriophages to overpower the nuisance making bacteria is appreciably very high in the Ganga river. So the proportionality of the viruses which are able to overpower the action of the bacteria, especially the pathogenic bacteria, is very well documented in the Ganga river. But in that also there is a catch. It is focused on the upper reaches of the Ganga, but this activity seems to be diminishing in the middle and the downstream stretches where there is more of anthropogenic activity. Earlier Ganga was considered pristine till the Ganga Sagar. Britishers used to collect the water from there and load it into their vessels and go on the long voyage to the Britain, and they would find that the Ganga water would not get putrefied. But when they would be on the return journey to India, they would carry Thames water which would get putrefied. So now the situation is different. Now we are into today's world, Ganga is become one of the most polluted river, but still in that eco-sensitive zone which is still protected, the first 100-200 kilometer, that still shows these signals.
That means where up to about Rishikesh, would you say? Is it? It's still
upstream of the Haridwar.
Upstream of Haridwar, the water is still pristine. Yeah. And what is special about these bacteriophages, and how are these bacteriophages different from, say, Narmada? Yamuna is also a Himalayan river.
Bacteriophages are the viruses of the bacteria, which actually means that they feed on the bacteria. Like the viruses which needs the bacteria to feed. So they enter into the bacteria, they multiply, and then they lyse the bacteria, burst it open, and then infect other bacteria. It's like a chain reaction. So it's a very efficient natural system of controlling the bacteria. It's actually designed by nature. Everything has a control over another thing in nature. That's how cascadedly it is being designed by nature. So this balance strikes very well in the Ganga because the sediments have the ability to harbor the viruses, because when we brought the sediments to our lab, we did a long-term studies of keeping the sediments at room temperature, at refrigeration temperature, and at -20, -80, and liquid nitrogen. We found that the ability of the viruses to be safe in the sediment was appreciably high for 3 years, even at room temperature, when stored at room temperature, which is not seen with many of the biological samples. But we all know that viruses are a kind of such an entity that it is neither living nor non-living. It becomes living the moment it enters into its host. So we saw that the sediment is giving it a very good safe haven for the viruses to survive and be still active when given an opportunity to interact with its target.
Some people say it is the plants and the extracts from plants in the upper regions of the Himalaya which contribute to this large diversity or the special diversity of these bacteriophages. Did you find that?
We don't find a correlation with bacteriophage like that, but definitely the correlation with the water quality is definitely there, because NEERI itself has studied that the phytochemicals in the upper reach of the Ganga are contributing, especially the dissolved oxygen, which is one of the key things which everybody is well aware of, that Ganga has appreciably high dissolved oxygen content because the way it flows from a very high altitude towards the plains of the Ganges, we call it. So during that it is able to maintain a very good dissolved oxygen in it as compared to other rivers. And of course, as you have said about phytochemicals, they do impart a very positive activity on the Ganga river water, but there is no correlation found between the phages and the phytochemical like that.
And what happens when the pollution load is high? Let's say when you reach Kanpur or when you go further down, what happens at Allahabad or Varanasi? What happens there? What happens to these bacteriophages?
Exactly. Actually, it's a very good and a very deep question which you have asked. We see that the bacteriophages are increasing there. So now one may say that the bacteriophages are increasing, that means they should be even better. But we have to also see that the target which, against which the bacteriophage acts, the bacteria, is also increasing in proportion. And it is increasing to the level that it is not allowing the bacteriophage to overpower the action of the bacteria. But when we go to the upper reaches, where we let the Ganga to be the Ganga, its native state, we see that the bacteriophages are able to overpower the activity of the bacteria. Although bacteriophages are lesser in the upper reach, but they are good enough to overpower the bacterial load. So thus keeping the balance well.
So if we leave and let the Ganga rejuvenate, does it really rejuvenate itself soon? Or is it just simply that solution to pollution is dilution?
That's why there is a very nice mantra with Ganga that, aviral and nirmalta. That is the thing. If you let it flow, uninhibitedly, it will achieve its aviralta, that will give its that most coveted nirmalta which we all look for. So that is actually the answer which I can give from my side.
So using quality modern science, Dr. Krishna, you're confirming to me that the old belief we have that the Ganga water is different and is pure and is very I'm forgetting the word, but it's very close to people's hearts, has some meaning in that.
Yeah, definitely. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
You're confirming that.
Yeah.
And your science proves that the bacteriophages exist in a number which can help cleanse the Ganga water and keep it unputrefied.
Yeah, and not just bacteriophages, but also the dissolved oxygen and the phytochemicals, which are whole as a huge group has formed. But one thing which we have to keep in mind is that it's only at the upper reaches of the Ganga. This property we see to diminish, but during the lockdown we all saw that how the air quality and the water quality has again reverted back to its normalcy, and we have seen that Ganga has become good, but because of lockdown issues, my group can't go, hasn't gone there to collect the water and recheck it. But from all other experts and other groups who have worked in silos, like everyone has not worked like us from Gomukh to Gangasagar, but some people who have collected somewhere at Varanasi or say some other location, they have seen this appreciable difference in the Ganga. So that itself shows that it's a testament that if we let the river be aviral and nirmal, it will definitely come back to its old days, which we all know Ganga is our Devi and our Ma.
So Ganga माँ जो बोलते हैं उसमें दम है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, माँ में तो हमेशा ही दम होता है.
और साफ रखने में बैक्टीरियोफाज का भी रोल है।
जी, साफ रखने में बैक्टीरियोफाज का रोल है, और उनके जो बच्चे हम हैं, हमें एज अ ह्यूमन, एज अ सिटीजन, हम उनकी इतनी पूजा करते हैं, हमने उनका ध्यान रखना चाहिए, उसमें गंदगी न डाल के, चाहे वो आपका डोमेस्टिक पोल्यूशन हो या इंडस्ट्रियल पोल्यूशन हो, वो उसमें नहीं डालना चाहिए। और उसके लिए जो भी हमें मेजर्स लेने चाहिए एट द हाईएस्ट लेवल, वही गंगा को साफ़ कर सकती है, क्योंकि गंगा में अपनी ताकत है साफ़ करने की, बट उसमें अगर हम कचरा डालते जाएंगे और उसको लोड करते जाएंगे तो वो साफ़ नहीं रहेगी।
So this was Dr. Krishna explaining to us using modern scientific tools why the water of the Ganges remains pure and does not putrefy and stay the same for a very long time. Even I have experienced that by keeping the Gangajal in my home, and it really doesn't putrefy. But here at the National NEERI, we have the proof and the science proving why Ganga water remains pure, and the science behind it is now documented by the scientific work done by NEERI in Nagpur. So next time somebody tells you Ganga water is pure, but make sure you don't dirty the Ganga, because if you dirty it, its self-cleansing properties can last only so much. Yes, Ganga can cleanse itself, but there are limitations. At NEERI in Nagpur, Pallava, Bagla.